Okay, this is the audio commentary for Chapman Speaks. I'm Ryan Smith, writer-director. To my right is...
I am Max Ader, and I played Chester Chapman.
And I'm Corbin Stoff, co-writer, co-director, and co-cinematographer, and also editor. My mom likes that quote, so that's why it's in the movie.
News essay.
Who made that?
So I made that logo.
Yeah, I think most of the graphics are Ryan's.
Sullied Oil is the corporation that I called it, which sullied, the definition is like to dirty or defile.
Okay.
It's like disgusting oil company.
Disgustingly clever with those jokes. This was such a fun day to shoot. I don't think you were here for this, Max.
I wasn't.
Yeah, that was just Mike Hambrock in his basement, who was our teacher, and he actually supervised the sound.
Yep. Also, shout out to Josh Perkins for the intro.
Oh yeah. I forget that Josh made that. He did a great job with it.
Is that a real statue?
Yep.
Yeah, I think that actually is a real...
How about Lincoln?
I don't remember if that's one that I put slave owner on.
No, you didn't. No.
Yeah, I think that was already like that.
I think that's one that I found from when we were doing the Tommy Manifesto. And I still think that this graphic is a little stupid, but, you know, we were going with the whole PragerU really bullshit graph that's nothing's labeled. It bugs me that terminates like that.
The one thing I picked up from when I first got into the script and I saw this stuff, and the comedy in it makes things like that, justifies the heck out of those kinds of graphics. I just love how it dances that middle ground. That line, I mean.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff about this that's really ridiculous. Like, nobody would actually just have a straight-up American flag background because it's really busy and kind of distracting. But I was like, fuck it, we're just going so extreme with it. Let's just put a flag behind them.
Yeah, but then what I love is how it calms back down. Like, that is like just a real moment.
Yeah, I am really proud of, because this was my cinematography. I mean, actually, technically it was for I was behind the camera for the news segments too, but I was really proud of how this segment turned out, and the color grade also, just how blue it all looks. That was a really fun day. For a while, we thought that was going to be the last filming day, but then, you know, it kept getting busier.
This is probably my favorite shot in the whole movie.
Yeah, I kept thinking it wasn't going to be clear where that was, but I don't think anyone cares, because that's supposed to be like in his studio, and you can kind of tell that that's like the reflection of the production control there.
We do see that monitor later.
You do.
So I think if you're paying attention, I don't know.
Yeah, it also just, you know, it's a photo of the dad, and it doesn't have to be that clear.
We fight those in power, whether it's the politicians, the academics, you name it, who want to change American culture, who want to erase.
Was this the first thing we filmed with you? No, because we did the Presence Office with you first.
Yeah.
This was the second day. This was supposed to be the first day.
Right.
Made a lot of enemies.
This was just a great way to figure out who Chapman was, because I think we still didn't quite know in the Presence Office scene.
Yeah, neither did I.
Like what your insight on that is, Max.
Yeah, I mean, especially as I started to read the monologues, it didn't. I was expecting to have a character that I could develop and research off of the real obvious names we think of. But then as I read even further, I realized that there was a freedom that you guys wrote into the monologue, because although it was based in it was pointing towards reality, the character itself was able to make moves outside of those where it was pointing.
I still think this is really... I love that you came up with this idea for this credit sequence, Ryan. I love it. And I still think it's hilarious that you would never... I mean, the show didn't exist at that point when we made this, but you'd never played any of the Fallout games. And this is like directly out of the Fallout games, which I love. I think those are some of the best criticism of American politics, but
yeah,
I just think it's funny.
Oh, sorry. I was saying, this is... I think this was one of the films that was produced under FDR, which is why it's public domain. It's like a very just like public kind of PSA sort of thing. So no copyright on this one at all.
I wish it was higher resolution, but I think that's what the scan of it is. What was this, Library of Congress?
Yes.
Yeah, good old Library of Congress.
Also, shout out to David Bubar, by the way, who his focus was so clean for so many of those days that he helped with.
Oh yeah, no, David, you know, for the days we got him, he did a phenomenal job. He's a great guy on the focus wheel, which I wish I was better at.
This...
Hi, Nick.
this intro, like there could not have been a more perfect little film to play for this, especially too because how it just goes through all these things, like the media being the last one and censorship being the last one. It's like a perfect way to end it off.
Oh yeah, no, it's there's a lot of little coincidences that I think make this a much stronger story. Like just that we'll see it later, but the finger gun that Janice does, that's such a great detail, and that was totally not planned. That was just improv.
I love how ridiculous that image is.
Oh,
like
no.
that's what happens.
382 a gallon.
I know. I love how that's like, oh no.
Biden's America, everyone.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I should have edited that like $5 or whatever.
Oh, I never realized you made that January 6th. That's great. I still feel so bad for I don't remember their names off the top of my head, but yeah, she actually runs a tattoo parlor.
That's cool.
That's her business. And she is the guy who plays Sam Smedley. They're a couple.
Phil and Rosie.
Phil and Rosie Andlauer, I think.
Yep.
I feel bad because they drove all the way up from like southern New Hampshire, northern Mass. Because I remember we were over Salem, I think, similar area to where I'm from. And we only used them for that one photo, and we paid them, but I just felt bad. It's like they drove all this way, and we just need a couple photos.
That looks so hyper realistic.
I spent so much time on that Photoshop.
It's a little, a lot of the Photoshops in this are a little uncanny, but they're not on long enough to ever, like, question them. That was just a photo that Evan took, right?
Yeah, those are set photos.
And it's perfect.
I tell you what, though, from an actor's perspective, that dance with surrealism is what's so fun to me.
Oh, yeah. And a lot of this stuff was kind of based on CSA, Confederate States of America, which is a mockumentary film. I don't know who the filmmaker was, but it's a fake documentary basically going through an alternate history of America if the South had won the Civil War. It's such a creative film. It has like fake historians doing interviews like that. And it's actually the film that changed my mind on the like Aunt Jemima stuff. It was so compelling, and I was like, this is wow.
Yeah. Oh my God, this. I so wish that I had gotten to be here when we filmed this, but I was at a convention with my family. But just mainly because I hate that you cropped out the blood we put on the shirt and the gold buttons that I hand stitched onto that stupid cardigan for Dan.
That's a beautiful shot, Corwin.
It is beautiful. It is a beautiful shot. I don't actually have any complaints about that.
All I did for that was just put a flag next to Larry and Dan. No lighting on it, really.
And that was entirely, I think, like, you totally got what I was going for, because you've never seen a Ron Maxwell movie, but that's exactly what I want to go for. If that
Ron Maxwell.
Yeah.
No, I've never heard of him.
The dumb style of, like, sanctimonious and overly dramatic crap.
Yeah.
I like the idea of putting a movie in universe that like was popular.
I think it's little details like that we sprinkle throughout this that really help sell the realism of this world. Because we're so obviously constrained by the budget. Like you can just look at this and you're like, that's not the Oval Office.
What was the budget again?
Complicated.
It's like $3,500. Okay. That's what I like to say.
Of money that we raised, $3,500. But if you count, I kind of want to, but it's just like math is hard, and I don't have the time to sit down and figure out what the gear rental of everything we used at this school would have been.
Yep, we got it all for free.
This budget could have easily been like $30,000.
Yeah, tens of thousands.
Even then, you could have made a cruddy movie, and you didn't.
Thank you.
That's
that
good.
budget.
Phenomenal.
This scene right here, I always dreamed of doing like an Oval Office address. I don't know. There's a made-for-TV miniseries called The Reagans. And The Reagans is like a really low-budget film. Josh Brolin's dad plays Ronald Reagan, and like their Oval Office address scenes are like so cheaply done. But it's like all they do is just put gold curtains and a brown desk. I'm like, I can do that.
Did you get those curtains from Walmart?
Yeah, it's fabric.
Yep. Ken Stack had so much fun with it, with this role. He just came in, and I love that logo.
I know, that got a laugh at the
it
screening.
did, because it's, you know.
TV.
There's a lot of layers to that logo. Not only is it obviously a Proud Boys thing, but it's also PP, which is an inside joke and just a funny joke.
Yeah,
and
it's
and I wanted to do a snake to kind of look at like libertarianism.
And it's eating
And
itself.
it's exactly.
Which also has philosophical in it.
Oh, yeah. But it also calls back to weird, like, Nordic imagery that a lot of, like, crypto-fascists love.
Fun fact, that is Nixon's resignation.
Oh.
I just changed the ending.
You know, no one is ever going to know how frustrating those stupid animations of the paper coming in was. You had to hand keyframe that because it kept jittering.
I did it in Premiere Pro, which is my mistake.
Yeah, never editing in Premiere Pro. That is an official statement from the Chapman Speaks crew and team. Never edited in Premiere Pro.
Callie Carson is played by Sierra Whaley, who is one of 2 actual journalists who star in the movie.
Who actually work together, which is really cool. Along
Double
with one of our
real.
one of our professors, Joy Hollowell, who we did not have her class when we were making this movie, but she teaches an ethics and media course, and I hope that she gets to see this when it comes out, because I think she would just love it.
Is that real?
No.
There are 3 AI images in the mockumentary sequence.
Yeah.
Because basically
Yeah.
everything from January 6th is copyrighted.
And Charlottesville, which is the other place we wanted to. I wanted to make our own Charlottesville segment. I wanted to just get a crap total of people, buy a lot of tiki torches, have them march.
Yeah.
But
Oh, right.
the
that's all,
logistics.
like, AP photos and stuff.
Yeah, the logistics of that kind of thing is just so hard to do.
Yeah, you only basically have like journalist rights to use a lot of that stuff. But clearly the what in this mockumentary is called like the Richmond riots is based off of Charlottesville.
Sure.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, a lot of these moments are just totally drawn from history.
This is basically the 2016 election.
Is that H for Hillary?
No, it's
I'm
supposed
just
to be an N.
Yeah.
It is a crooked H.
It's nice.
Crooked Hillary. Yeah, this is the stupid. You can see a little bit that you had a hand keyframe that
but
because
I
it kept
love it.
jittering.
Yeah, so they obviously joking on 1492 in that last one.
It all comes together, though, as we'll see in a minute.
We had a lot of little dog whistles sprinkled throughout this movie of just like, because, you know, a lot of crypto-fascists and people on the alt-right on the internet would do is they'll do dog whistles. Like, you'll see a couple points, like the OK symbol gets flashed, and like mainly by Freddie Freeman. That's because that was a whole stupid thing where people on 4chan decided they were gonna make a bunch of fake Twitter accounts of white women being like, "Oh my God, OK is a hate symbol now," and then they actually started using it as a dog whistle to signal, "Hey, we're in the know." So I just like that we sprinkled a lot of those stupid symbols in there to be like, you know, winking to jerks.
The flag that we made, at first I think you wanted to do something more traditionally black and red fascist, and you know, I felt, I don't regret it at all, but I was like, I just kind of want to make this the thin blue line flag, because my thought was, how do we make it how like modern right-wing American fascists would be?
Oh yeah,
like,
well,
it's a fucking police state.
I think the whole idea is like, what boggles my mind is that people will like, you know, you're supposed to not deface the flag anyway, but people will just fly this altered version of the flag up, and it's just like, you're really gonna sell your patriotism away for this symbol?
There is like a code of respect for the flag, technically.
I think, man, Jason, how was acting with Jason Max? Because I thought he was so great.
Jason brought a really neat, like you guys said, he brought a really neat energy to the character. He could have played it just very like right down the middle as sort of the censor. But he has this just like this touch of theatrical attitude in it.
Sir,
And it brings such a wonderful surrealism again to the character that I think keeps it cohesive.
Yeah, moments like that really help to, you know, get the movie's head out of its own ass a little bit, of, you know, saying like, you know, this is a little bit of a ridiculous premise.
I think the word is flamboyance.
Yeah.
He brings a little bit of flamboyance to it.
Yeah.
Just enough. Yeah.
And also those
And I think that
patches.
was purposeful.
Oh yeah, no, that was in his audition. Like, that wasn't something we brought. I remember rewatching that, and for me, it was coming down to Jason Bannister had auditioned for that role as well. And Jason Bannister, who did the narration, has such a killer voice. And he's also a big guy, so he's kind of intimidating. But I just liked. We decided we'd rather have that voice for voiceover because it was great, and I think it was the right choice because we needed that voice.
This is this scene and the scene after was my favorite scene that I wrote.
Yeah, over there. Thanks.
Just the kind of
I asked them to keep it like this.
I don't know. I feel like this scene really shows his
Really, it was a
character.
joint decision
It's like the first time you really get
of
to know who
mutual
this guy
benefit or
is.
some corporate terminology.
What's the sense in that?
And I joke that
Whole point
Chapman's
the
kind of a
news
bit of a
essay deal was
socialist because
for
at the end he
money.
says that he pays
Like
his
for a
workers good.
budget, Chap.
Oh man, this is something that they didn't get to see in the screening. Not that it matters for the commentary, but didn't you redo the color on this?
Yeah, very
Yeah,
slightly.
it's better. I think it helps sell that this is supposed to be a flashback more, and I think that comes across pretty clearly, especially when you see the next scene, that this is clearly the old set, and that this is his more idealized version. But I also think it helps to show that it's really not that good. He's still kind of this prick, and he's not being great to his coworkers, and he's already kind of like got his head up his ass.
That's who we represent.
Any thoughts, Chester Chapman?
Fancy cameras and big digital displays.
In this, I like how in this scene, what I was, I can't remember who it was, one of you that directed this scene.
I
That's
directed
Ryan.
the news set.
Because
stuff.
I
Okay.
shot this stuff.
That
Tell the crew to as well.
there was what you just said. The socialist comment at the end where he pays his workers fairly. To present him at first like this, that was a really fun way because I knew what was
I like my crew.
we've already recorded, and that
Yeah.
he was more cutting. So to come back to this was kind of a relief
Okay, 3,
character-wise.
2.
And just the juxtaposition between these two scenes is, I
Yeah,
love it.
being likable.
You know, I think something that I don't know how much you were trying to write this, Ryan, because you obviously wrote most of the story. We came up with the beats together, but you wrote the characters. I think that what kind of makes Chapman work so well is that he kind of comes off as this apolitical figure at his heart, that he doesn't really care about a lot of these issues, and it makes sense for why he's, you know, kind of an oxymoron at times of like, he's this conservative pundit, but he also like, you know, wants to pay his workers fairly, and he doesn't seem to discriminate on who he hires because he doesn't really care. He's a grifter at this point.
Yeah, I think there's some, and we had talked about this a couple times about his character and how like realistic it is. I mean, basically, the decision that I had to make in writing this was I can't make Chapman a character that knows he's bullshitting because then he has no arc really, and I instead wanted it to be like he really does think he's being patriotic and he's just so ignorant and has to have a political awakening
I agree.
to realize that he's being an asshole.
I mean, really, he's a he's like a very what's the word? He's a very nice version of Tucker Carlson. Like, we're being very generous of like,
That's
what if
the word I was.
Yeah.
Charm. There's a charm.
what
I
if
wanted to put
Tucker
into it.
what if Tucker actually didn't know what he was doing was
Yes.
horrible?
What if he was a little more innocent and ignorant, basically?
Mhm.
I would love if Tucker Carlson saw this someday.
That's a neat
It'd
shot.
be incredible. Yeah, I love that composite.
Yeah.
I had a couple of those in the movie, and I wanted to do more, but because I feel like they come a little randomly, and I wish that we'd gotten
It's
a couple
quirky and I
more.
like it.
Yeah.
In a good way.
And no offense to Katie, but I did pick the worst pictures of her for this and for the wanted thing at the end because I'm like, that's of course the pictures they would use.
Tolerant left.
Oh yeah, that was a fun photo shoot. Just getting to know Katie there. I like that we did that from a producing point of.
Was that a keyframe right there where you just came back? Or was it a camera move?
That was a camera move. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we did. That's why they're so sloppy.
Sometimes they're assisted by a keyframe a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we were zoomed in like over 100 millimeters across the studio on this to make that compression work. Because that's not a big TV behind you.
No, not at all.
And of course, then the next year, the TV studio in NESCOM got renovated. It's a whole LED wall.
Yeah. Kind of going back to the filming this as the second filming day, all these news segments, because we filmed all of this stuff in one day. This was like the day that I realized we had it. Because like the President's Day, and we can get to that in a little bit, but like, you know, we had just met you for the first time. It was our first day. We were feeling it out. We were meeting Nick for the first time. We're like, what even is this character? And then when we did this stuff, I was like, he's got it. Like we knew what we both wanted from it, and it clicked. And I was like, holy shit.
Stop this anti-white bigotry.
So language warning, I guess.
They're teaching racism in schools. That's right.
That's right.
So
Racism.
That's a funny thing about that line. that I don't know if people interpret it the right way. Um, I originally intended it to be he's mad that they're talking about racism, but I think the way that people are watch that, he's claiming that they're teaching
Oh,
racism.
yeah, that's how I always
But
interpreted
no, like
it.
my thought was like, why are they talking about racism? Because like they love to comment on like, why are you bringing up issues like racism in school?
Well, no. See, actually, I think, you know, I'll argue here that man, tangent. I'm shocked at how good that composite came out.
Cell of this scene is really good.
Just inserting Gina into that because into that segment there. And then we had to crop it. We had to do a little like mask of that little protest sequence because it says Chapman speaks protest
Yeah.
at the bottom because we didn't rename the file, which, you know, we could have gone away with because the show in universe is Chapman speaks. But this scene is so gorgeously shot. You did such a good job with the lighting here. Like,
Book lighting.
yep, it just looks phenomenal. I also love this interaction. This is my favorite interaction between
These are one of
you
the
and
scenes.
Janice.
These are one of the scenes where I feel like, as an actor, I was like, I start to and this is a weakness as an actor I have, where I understand the gist of a character, but then I get into the scenes and I go, okay, that's the deeper part of it. And then it goes to keep going, digging down. And great actors obviously have deep script study, but we were moving pretty fast with this puppy.
We had to cut a lot of that, and it was actually, I think it was mainly for a lot of continuity stuff. We
Sure.
had such a hard time editing that.
I met, yeah.
But some of the lines, like from both of you guys, like it just didn't work out, or like we just didn't like how some takes were. We
Sure.
didn't like all the language, and like it's a very important scene. And so at first I was like, oh, we really gutted that, but I think now it comes off as Janice being a little weird, in a
Yeah.
good way of like, why is she being so like dismissive?
Sure.
Well, I love
You
that
know.
scene as well, and this didn't click to me until I was editing it together. That, you know, it's meta commentary on the country.
Shout out to my apartment,
Oh yeah.
which is mine now.
Did you? I missed it because I looked down. But did you? And we ended up cutting out the mature quality singles.
Yeah,
Oh,
the screenshot of his email, yeah.